Okay, hello to everybody. Good day. Thank you very much for being patient. We were just a little bit coordinating before starting this webinar series. My name is Ivana Velkova. I am the interim director of the Western Balkans office of the European Association for Local Democracy, for those who don't know me. Thank you very much for registering for our series of webinars that we are doing. We are organizing together with COOPS EU. This is a partnership that started really last year, and we were talking for the whole this period on how to cooperate, how to reintroduce the cooperatives methodology in the Balkans, and what should we do. So this is the result of our talks and our cooperation that luckily is going smoothly so far. So I will give the floor to my colleague Annalisa so she can jumpstart this webinar and tell you about our cooperation and what we are planning to do in the next, this one and the next two Monday talks that we are planning. Annalisa, you can.
Thank you so much, Ivana, and good morning, everyone, for whenever you're joining us. As Ivana said, it's a very important moment for us. It's the first also trial of this new collaboration. So also bear with us and be with us. And we hope it's going to be as interactive as possible. To formally introduce myself, my name is Annalisa Vallone, and I'm International Development Coordinator for Cooperatives Europe. And since 10 months, for 10 months now, I've been coordinating the European activities of COOPS4Dev, which is an international development project aimed at promoting the role of cooperatives, but also more extensively of people-centered businesses across Europe and globally, and share best practices and also learn from the other countries. So I'm going to share now the presentation, and I hope it's going to work well. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, this is the title of today's presentation. The reason we wanted to make it a Monday talk, so I hope you will keep joining us for 3 Mondays in a row, and we'll try to make your Mondays a little bit more fuzzy and buzzy and also interesting. So going to the second slide, we prepared a little icebreaker for you to launch the discussion. So I would warmly invite you to take your phone, scan your code, and we're gonna start with the Mentimeter and some few questions for you. I'm also gonna put the link of the slide to make sure that everyone can see that. Okay. There you go. Okay. Still I see there's still some people have to vote, so I'm gonna wait a couple of more minutes. Yeah, you can use also at the top of the page, you see the website and the code to join the discussion. Also happy to see there's quite a diverse audience today. So it's proof of the exchange across Europe that we want to have. Okay, I see new people logged in. Okay, more or less we have an idea. So we have a good match. Somehow also Italy always comes present. We wish. No, it would be not always the case, but it's nice to see so many colleagues from Macedonia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, Croatia, many across Europe as well. So let's move on to the second question. This is for you to test your knowledge about people-centered business. So please self-assess yourself. We're here also to address it and to get inputs on it. Okay. You're giving us a tough challenge today then, because we hope really that from a little is going to become to even an expert, and you're going to be more experts than us by the end of today. Okay, the little is definitely growing. Okay, you're going to test us. We're ready. We can do it. Okay, I see there's still some people voting and new people joining the Menti, so that's good.
Annalisa,
Yes.
can you maybe show the QR code again? I think some people in the chat are asking for it, or maybe a link.
They can also click at the link. So let me try to copy this in the chat as well for those who just joined. Thanks, Paula.
Perfect, thank you.
Wait, now how can I? Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, you have the link. Okay, gonna wait one more minute then. Awesome. Okay, we have more or less an idea of the audience. I'm gonna go to the next question, which is, which team are you in? Or better, who do you represent today? Okay, so we see a majority of civil society colleagues, so very nice to hear. And the final one, which is an open question. So we already acknowledged that we need to improve that from a little to an expert. But yeah, it would be nice also to know from you, what would you like to get out of this webinar and the future ones, and yeah, also your interest in our series and in our work. Okay, we have inspiration. Again, another easy task to accomplish. Who else? Don't be shy. It's extremely anonymous, and also if we put it in written form. Get alive. That's the Monday mood probably for some. Okay, about your activities and possibility of cooperation. That's what we're aiming at. Okay. Okay, we have a good mix of knowledge and practical toolkit. Okay. Awesome. There's also a networking element, so that's very important. Collaboration, we always aim for that and for more. That's also why we're here. Also, feel free, by the way, to add the name of your organization already in your name on Zoom by tapping on your name and clicking rename. Also, in case for intervention in the second part of the webinar. Okay, we have already good knowledge, and I think we have shared objectives. So thank you so much for joining this quick Menti. I'm gonna go back to the presentation if it's all good for you. Okay, and I can actually move to, sorry guys, to full screen now. So it's also better. Okay, there we go. Green. Can you see the screen actually right now? The presentation, or because it says it's stopped?
No, we cannot see it.
Okay.
I can see.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
For us, no.
Still no.
Okay, wait, let me try again. I don't know why it stopped. It says screen sharing is paused, but I don't know. I don't understand why though, because it's in full screen. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
My God, guys, I've learned nothing out of COVID. But I'm so sorry. Okay, we're back on track. So just very quickly, I'm gonna introduce us to you, Cooperatives Europe. So we are the European movement of cooperatives. We currently represent 84 member organizations from 30 European countries across all business sectors. And this is numbers because we like statistics, what this means in practice. So how many million of people actually are engaged through our different members and cooperatives, the number of the single cooperative enterprises, and the impact that their work has on the citizens across Europe. We really like emphasizing the fact of the diversity of sectors because we don't want to push to, you know, a narrow idea of cooperatives and the sectors where they can be active, but they're usually, you know, to be agriculture and banking. These are key sectors that we keep value, and we have great members across national organizations, but also European sectoral organization. But we also aim at, you know, is increasing knowledge and raise awareness on the fact that you can set up a cooperative and implement and advance this business model from energy to the pharmaceutical sectors to textiles and manufacturing. So for that, if my words are not enough, we prepared a little video. It's just 1 minute, but you can get a better understanding of who we are and what to represent. Especially you will see in 2025, which is a very particular and important year for us.
Imagine a Europe where businesses put people first, where they work alongside their communities to improve livelihoods. This isn't just a vision, it's the cooperative way. It's happening right now across the continent, driven by millions of individual members, and over 250,000 cooperatives across all business sectors of the European economy. As the European region of the International Cooperative Alliance, Cooperatives Europe unites cooperatives under one umbrella, advocating, amplifying their interests, and collaborating with various stakeholders. Its network provides tools and knowledge to drive a people-centered economy, informing the members about policies, supporting their needs, and ensuring their ideas lead to action. Guided by the cooperative principles and values, They link economic development, social inclusion, and long-term impact. By fostering collaboration among cooperatives, they can be positioned as key players in sustainable business, driving transformative change in society. Today, cooperatives have grown into a powerful force with over 5.4 million co-operators. They shape the European economies, empower their communities, and build a fairer future. As 2025 marks the second ever United Nations International Year of Cooperatives, it's time to celebrate the cooperative difference. So let's seize this momentum to showcase the strength of the movement to build a better world. Join us in shaping that future. Learn more at coopseurope.coop.
Okay, so this was a little bit of an input. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, just to come back a little bit on our activity, we do represent members at national level, at national sectorial level, meaning, for example, an Italian Federation of Cooperative active in banking. But also European sectorial level, which is also you will learn a little bit more today. So we have 7 European members, which cover all Europe, which is very important. So we're not focusing on the EU, but we focus across Europe, which is also something that we closely share with ALDA. And our whole goal was exactly to invest resources and time in the enlarged Europe region and get everyone involved also within the EU activities and larger vision that we have. Speaking of which, this activity today in this series of webinar is in the context of COPS Europe project called COPS for Dev. As I mentioned to you at the beginning, it stands for Cooperatives for Development. And the reason why I put this slide for you here is to make you understand the impact, let's say, and the link that these activities and our discussions in the next 3 webinars can have. As you can see, it's a global project which is funded by the International Partnership Directorate of the European Commission. And it's a focus across all our continents and regions. So we have counterparts in New Delhi, San Jose, Nairobi, and here in Brussels. And what we aim to do is to promote activities to better engage our current members and also link them to new partners and new discussions, a little bit what you were hinting at in the Mentimeter earlier on. So the idea is really to network, to collaborate, to also receive inputs, and specifically inputs of also what doesn't work or what could work better, so that we can prove it together. And we promote activities across sections. So this capacity building, these webinars today are a little bit of a crossroad between capacity building, but also research and education, because ideally we would also like to get something out of this where you could potentially be part of. And our focus in Europe, as exemplified today, is exactly to focus more on the beyond the EU, involving our members who are also EU-based, but not only, and exactly establish meaningful partnership, also in light of 5 years to go to the completion or achievement of the SDGs at UN level. So we get to today. Why is it very important for us? This Monday talk with ALDA is exactly to discuss and implement citizen-led democratic entrepreneurship. We do represent cooperatives, and they're our main target, but overall, we actually represent the whole spectrum of what we call social economy. And so all people-centered business models, which on the one hand, you know, they want to advance the local economic development and reinvest the profit in the local community, but always involving and minding the people. So the 2, let's say, key objectives that we have, it's to increase the external visibility of our model and the work, but also to address and collect perspectives, perceptions, misperceptions that this business model might have, focusing on your region. So just as a recap, before leaving the floor to the speakers, today is our first appointment. So it was a little bit more introductory as well to explain the partnership and also to introduce the model to you with two great speakers, which I'm about to introduce. And the 2 seconds are going to be, are aimed to be at least even more participatory. So we'll also have 1-2 speakers from our side to set a little bit the context. But the next one is mainly aimed at your inputs, your feelings, your experiences. It can really be anything, but really the Balkan perspective on this economic model. And the third and final one will hint exactly at these practical tips and potential toolkit on what could be done or what can be done. And what can you do in your respective country to start discussion, kickstart discussion on this model? How we foresaw it, you saw a little bit with the Mentimeter. So we're going to have some digital engagement, which can be at the beginning or throughout the session. We aim to have an active Q&A. So we're going to ask you if you have any question already after each intervention, but also leaving some to the end. You can use the chat, you can raise your hand. It's really an open and friendly space among us. And why are we doing this is to inform potentially some in-person physical trainings and capacity building with Ivana, and I might let her spend a quick word about this. And also to inform our future activities as part of the project within the region. So yeah, Ivana, I don't know if you want to chip in very quickly on that.
So yes, so these are the, as Annalisa said, that they are just the introductory webinars. So in the future, we are planning to maybe add to our national session in some of the project national trainings, to add the topic of cooperatives. As you know, most of our projects work on topics that are quite match quite well with actually the cooperatives methodology. So these webinars are really, we wanted to just see the field, to see what's happening in the Western Balkans, because I have knowledge for my country, but of course I don't know for the others. So this will be the perfect occasion for us to talk. As Annalisa said, feel free to comment, feel free to raise your hand, to see how we can maybe do some even direct contact with some of you, or I don't know. Every way of cooperating is actually a good way for us. So after the finalization of the series, we will go back on the drawing board and maybe design some, as Annalisa said, something live, not only via Zoom. So let's see how these three will go through, and we will have some news maybe from September onwards.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Ivana. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to today's speakers who are joining us online, and they are brave enough to talk to you without any slides, just as proof of how knowledgeable and also excited they are about their work. And I'm very happy and lucky, and I thank them also openly for joining us today. So we will start with Vivian Woodell, who is part of and let's say co-founder now of a Midcounties Cooperative based in the UK. Is also vice president and board member of Cooperatives Europe, and he will draw you a little bit with him on what has been also the history of the cooperative movement with its evolution and successes and downfall, and where are we now at European level. Also offering some case studies across sectors where he has been actively involved. And followed by Zoran Kordić, who is project manager and leader of the activities of Zelena Energetska Zadruga, which is an energy cooperative in Croatia, and also member of Rescop EU, which are a European sectoral member on energy communities active in Europe. And he will tell you more about his personal experience in what it means to set up a cooperative in a Balkan country which is now part of the European Union, and what are the possibilities also of inter-cooperation, what we call, between cooperatives based in the Balkans and cooperatives based in the European Union. So yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen and let Vivian kickstart the discussion. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Annalisa, and thank you to ALDA and Cooperatives Europe for inviting me to speak with you today. I'm really excited about it because some years ago I was also doing a lot of work in Central and Eastern Europe, which is not so far from the Balkans, and I'm really excited to pick up with that today. As Annalisa said, I'm currently Vice President of Cooperatives Europe and also Vice President of the Midcounties Cooperative. That's, just to put it in context, it's one of the larger consumer cooperatives in the UK. We have food shops, about 230 food shops. We have a tourist business, a travel agency business, and a tour operator business. And we also have a childcare business with about 50 childcare nurseries around England. And in addition, we have a smaller utilities business as well, selling energy and telecom services. So it's one of the larger consumer co-ops, but that is a non-executive role. My day job is all about developing cooperatives, which is something I've been doing in one way or another through my life. And in the past, I also started a new cooperative in the field of telecommunications. It's now part of Midcounties. But I was the CEO of the phone co-op for 19 years. So I have the direct experience of starting a cooperative as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the development of the cooperative movement in Europe and the wider world. You know, co-ops, and I'll start really with the basics because I don't know, I'm sure some of you know some of this, so apologies to you if I'm covering things you know already, but I'm working on the basis that people are coming fairly fresh to this. So cooperatives started to develop in the 19th century as an alternative business form, created by ordinary people to address the challenges they faced, particularly during the Industrial Revolution, but not only because of that. The well-known Rochdale pioneers from Northern England started their own shop based on the principles of democracy and fairness. And that was in the context that at that time, there were no consumer protection legislation, no consumer protection laws. Very often the big mill owners would also run shops and sell poor quality food to their workers, or unscrupulous entrepreneurs would be doing that. Sometimes the flour was mixed with chalk, the scales didn't weigh accurately, and it was really a very difficult situation. So ordinary people took things into their own hands and started their own shop, and they applied democratic principles because they could see that it was a lack of democracy that was causing them the problems they faced in the first place. And they also set up the business based on fairness, equity as they called it. And this concept, their model, was replicated very widely, so that by 1900, the year 1900, there were around 2,000 local consumer co-ops in the UK alone. And of course, this model had also spread in many other countries too. And they set up their own wholesaler in the 1860s as a secondary co-op. And I would say that the secondary co-op, a co-op owned by primary co-ops to do some of the things that they all need collectively, has been one of the vehicles for the turbocharging the development of the co-op movement. And I think that's something we can look to again in seeing how to grow the co-op movement today. And that secondary co-op, the Cooperative Wholesale Society, controlled not only the wholesale operations, but also they had built factories, they owned farms, they even had a big structure for importing food from all over the world. In fact, they had the largest commercial shipping fleet in the world at that time. So they were a powerful enterprise. They had started their own bank, their own insurance enterprise to serve their members. So also during the 19th century, we saw the growth in other countries, particularly in Germany and the Netherlands, and in France and Italy of rural credit and agricultural cooperatives, which played an enormous role in enabling subsistence farmers to improve their position by enabling them to, for example, borrow money to buy seed at the beginning of the season and then to pay it back when the harvest happened. And those movements have developed into massive and powerful banking cooperative networks today, such as the German Volksbank and Raiffeisenbank, and in France the Crédit Mutuel and other cooperative banks in France, Crédit Agricole. And this movement has grown worldwide. It operates in many sectors of the economy now, not just the ones which I've been talking about. Globally, we have 1.3 billion members of co-ops, and their combined scale is comparable with the economy of Spain or Canada. And the sectors include not only retail and banking and insurance, but also housing, pharmacy, agriculture, and of course, worker-owned co-ops. And in some countries also, for example, in Italy and Spain, social cooperatives play an important role, for example, in helping people with disabilities to be economically active. Now, going back to my own personal story, in 1990, shortly after the fall of the Berlin Wall, I was involved with a group of other people from different cooperative organizations in the UK and Belgium in setting up a new organization called the Social Economy Consortium, which existed through the 90s. And this was really a response to the changes that were happening as former communist countries moved into transition to a market economy. And we saw the risk that co-ops and similar enterprises would be forgotten. They wouldn't be considered in the economic development policies of these countries because, you know, people were moving. I think they thought they were going from one big idea to another big idea, and maybe didn't recognize that in Western Europe, we actually have pluralist economies. So there are privately owned enterprises, but there are also cooperatives, mutuals, and other social economy types of enterprise. So I worked as coordinator of this consortium for 8 years. And what we saw was a very complex situation. And I'm interested to know how this is, whether this is also reflected in the situation in the Balkans, because we didn't really work in the Balkans at that time. So there were co-ops that had existed before the communist period that had been taken over by the state, and were later given back after communism. They were restituted, although that didn't work very well, because a co-op is not just about ownership, it's about being able to participate in the business. And of course, if you allow 40 years to pass, the people who were participating in the business are probably at least retired if they're still alive. So that was in a way a bit of a token thing. But there were other co-ops that sadly resulted from forced collectivization, especially in agriculture, but also in other sectors. And they had to decide after communism ended whether to break up and just hand the land back. Sometimes this was very difficult to do practically because the parcels of land were very small and part of big farms now, or whether to convert into some kind of market economy style co-op. And there were examples of both things happening. I was close to some people in Eastern Germany, for example, who were facing these challenges. And in some countries, co-ops were encouraged to federate, in other words, to form, a national federation and to work together. And this was certainly the case in the Czechoslovakia, as it was then, and in Hungary and Poland, where there were strong national federations for worker co-ops, for consumer co-ops, and indeed for all types of co-ops. But in Eastern Germany, for example, it was illegal to form for worker co-ops to form a federation, and in the Soviet Union, it was illegal actually to have worker co-ops. So the situation was really varied across the former communist countries. So in each country, a different approach was needed. Also, after the end of communism, there were attempts by some governments who thought that co-ops were just another kind of state ownership and didn't understand it. There were attempts to demutualize them and turn them into private enterprises. And these were, in many cases, effectively countered with the support of the International Cooperative Alliance, which was able to intervene and say, look, this is a well-established business model. We are a UN recognized organization representing this business model. People should have the right in every country to form a cooperative. It shouldn't be something that the government can undo. At the time, I was also a board member of COOP, the European Worker Co-op Federation, which was working hard to assist its new members in Central and Eastern Europe to make the transition to operating in a market economy a bit easier. And of course, it was hard. And we were active in those countries, both organizations that were on track to join the EU fairly early on, because this meant that it was possible to get some resources to do projects in those countries. So I personally worked in Czechoslovakia, as it was before it divided up, Poland, Eastern Germany, and the Baltic states. And we did also, as part of COOP, visit Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria. Now, I know that the history of the former Yugoslavia was somewhat different in relation, particularly to worker self-management, and I'm interested to learn how this has shaped the thinking of people in the Balkans today. My main message to you today, as I move to fit towards the end of my intervention, is to say that cooperatives can be a really powerful force for good in society, helping to build resilient local, regional, sectoral, and national economies. They can be a good partner also for governments at all levels, and where this has been done successfully, it has made a real and lasting difference. And as an example, I would like to point to the Emilia-Romagna region and the Alto Adige region of Italy, where you have powerful cooperative ecosystems working hand in hand with the governments of their regions. Also, the Basque region of Spain, where you may have heard of the Mondragon cooperative movement, which again is close to the government there. And there are also the examples of local cooperative development agencies, which were developed in the 1980s and 90s in the UK and Sweden, supported by local authorities. They have not been so enduring as the examples in Spain and Italy, but they made a difference at the time. And also the partnerships in countries such as Switzerland and Scandinavia and the Scandinavian countries between governments and the housing co-op movement to provide both social housing and also to facilitate accessible privately owned housing through a cooperative model. These kinds of partnerships can support enterprise creation and development along with financing, and they can be local, regional, or national. I believe they represent a powerful alternative and additional approach to the usual strategy that governments tend to adopt, which is to try to compete with each other for inward investment. And often when they do that, they find that the inward investment can also become outward investment when somebody else offers money to move that facility to another place. And this is something that I think is really fundamentally attractive about co-ops, if you're in a government, is that they don't remove themselves to another area just because someone offers some investment incentive. They are rooted in their local economies, in local people, and they serve that local economy, and that makes them a particularly powerful partner. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I'm very happy to discuss and answer any questions if I can, and I look forward to hearing my fellow speaker. Zoran, yes, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vivian. Let's say digital clap of hands. It's very interesting also. Thank you so much for drawing the historical background and touching upon different countries. It was a good mini lecture with a lot of content. And I think to me it was also very inspiring, even though we now are part of the movement, but exactly what you pointed at the local, like being locally rooted, being locally led, being an advantageous partner. So it's not like a self-standing reality. We can be partner, and we can be partner of different stakeholders, because in a way there's always a multi-purpose just by the governance of the cooperative itself, independently of the fact if it covers just one sector or multiple ones, and of the size of the single cooperative, and also how it contextualizes within the movement. And this is, again, another key message that I would really like to stress as part of these webinars. It's one of the first things that we discussed with Ivana, was really to match exactly the cooperative reality with an also non-cooperative reality, and to kind of seize and leverage on this dialogue, on this partnership, but also to be of use to our members to learn, exactly as Vivian was pointing out, at what is the stake now in the other countries. What is this, also your personal perception as regular citizens? So not only in your capacity, but really what has been transmitted to you, what have you perceived, what is your also government doing or not doing when it comes to this business form. So I don't know if you already have some burning questions or even reaction or perspective that you want to share as of now to react to Vivian's intervention. Yeah, it can be in written, or feel free to raise your hand, also to comment. And if yeah, in a minute there's no immediate reaction because of the density of the content, I would say as well, we can proceed to Zoran and then come back with a final Q&A at the end.
Okay, thank you, Annalisa, and thank you, Vivian, for this nice intro. Also, a good intro for my intervention, I would say, even though we now go much deeper, let's say, on the more practical side of cooperatives. So I'm representing the energy cooperative from Croatia. And I was about to explain maybe three things in general during this intervention. So I would start with cooperatives movement in general in Croatia, as far as I know. Then I would go to explain more about the connections we have with the RESCOOP. As Annalisa said, RESCOOP is European Federation of Energy Cooperatives. So I would maybe highlight some examples and some good things that happened from this partnership. And also on the third level of my intervention, I would explain more about ZES as an energy cooperative who is, like, for the last 12 years working on the energy sector, mostly in solar energy, trying basically to apply the cooperative principles to the sector of energy, which is an unusual thing in Europe, but very unusual in the Balkans. So firstly, I would say the cooperatives movement is still in Croatia, at least, still very much associated with the past, with the Yugoslavian times, and for that it has still mostly like bad connotation. However, I would say there is kind of rise up of new. There is a new wave, let's say, of cooperatives that are coming in the banking sector, in the housing sector. Also, we have a social cooperative. We are like slowly, I would say, removing these labels from the past and trying to establish some new labels towards the cooperatives, because most of us are like representing the let's say new faces, mostly young people who are behind it. So even though there is no any type of institutional support or association on the national level that would support us, we are trying to kind of connect the dots between ourselves and make the movement stronger. Also advocate for the some things such as access to funding, for example, because on many occasions we saw that cooperatives, for example, weren't eligible to be able to get some grants, and we found that totally unfair. And then after we explained the cooperatives, the principles and everything, then some of them kind of put us on the list as eligible parties. So in those kind of battles, we are acting mostly alone. However, and now I go to this second part, which is related to the European Federation Rescue. Rescue is giving us these strengths and this support on, I would say, approaching some policy issues, and we are much stronger when we have them behind us. Also, it helps definitely to be part of such a large communities. It helped us a lot, especially in the beginning, for this sharing of inspiring stories and kind of examples. And we always kind of had people who were really like eager to help us hands-on, like with very practical advices. And finally, of course, there is a lot on visibility, so we got definitely the attention on the much wider scale. And finally, it helps in getting the access to finance, especially to the EU funds, because if you apply for some research activities, innovation activities, then having such a strong European partner definitely helps in getting those grants. For ZES itself, we are 12 years old, and I would now try to connect with the Vivian's introduction on basically how in general cooperative movement started, and I found this very similar to our case. So back then in 2012, we had kind of the first rise of renewables, of renewable energy in Croatia. So people were started to invest into solar energy, into wind energy, biomass, and etc. And by that time, we saw that the two scenarios are like possible. So one scenario would lead to like, and we call it business as usual scenario, where you get the people mostly from outside, so investors who are like or some like private persons who would invest into such projects and then collect most of the benefits from those projects. And then on the other hand, we saw the second scenario that were happening in some Western European countries, where basically people were in front of making investments into such projects. So, for example, by that time in Germany, half of capacity in renewables were in hands of farmers, citizens, and energy cooperatives. So we were basically trying to follow this second scenario. That's how we started. We started with a lot of education, a lot of advocacy, raising awareness. We had a lot of tours around Croatia to kind of to try to stimulate the creation of more local energy communities. And somehow it started well. However, a few years after, the government canceled the feed-in tariffs, which was like the most suitable business model for energy cooperatives by that time. So we had 5 years of nothing basically on the market. There was nothing happening, and then slowly back in 2020 we had new legislation, and we started as our commercial activities as well. So we have all the time this European stream where we do a lot of research projects and innovation projects. But from 2020, we put much stronger emphasis on commercial activities, which means doing projects in Croatia. So partly it is related to supporting households and SMEs and public authorities for having the solar panels. The second thing is to make public campaign for to invite people to invest into the solar project. So basically some kind of crowdfunding scheme. And the third is always like educational and advocacy part. So this combination of three activities basically is what we do and how we operate. We are 20 employees now and 20 members as well. So most of employees are at the same time members of cooperative. So we are close to the term of worker cooperative, let's say. So the mission, is to make solar energy accessible and affordable for all, with citizens in the cornerstone of this transition. So something in relationship to the Balkans. So we do have some links and some connections with other energy cooperatives in the neighborhood. So for example, Elektropionir cooperative from Serbia, from Bosnia and Herzegovina. So in each country, basically now we have counterpart, somebody who is doing something similar to us and trying to kind of push for the same goals within their countries. So even though there is no any kind of formal, let's say, coalition or whatsoever, we are building basically, let's say, informal coalitions, and we are using EU funds for that. So we had, for example, European project COMET, which is connecting those, let's say, little countries, coalitions from Croatia, from Bosnia, and basically throughout the whole Southeast Europe region. So I would say that this is covering most of this part of intervention. So if there's any questions, we can go more further in details. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zoran, as well. I think, it's very relevant, especially to also hear a little bit an experience which is also closer to the region, also hearing that of your different connections also across the neighborhood, and the nature of collaboration with them, also to kind of show that here and there are some cooperatives, and there's a new way, that a new commitment as well to set them up. Of course, there are still some limitations, and then we keep discussing. There's no a full positive picture with no mistakes. It's been a lot of learning by doing. I think also it was clear from Vivian's intervention. But the key message also for today was that we didn't want to bring third persons or third perspectives about the cooperative movement and cooperatives across the Balkans and across Europe. It was really to have individual experiences, so that you could hear from people who have lived and still live on a daily basis the pleasure, I say, and then the advantages and the positive and the successes of setting up cooperative, but also that have experienced themselves on the front line what are the challenges, and sometimes when it can be complicated. So thank you so much for that. I would open the floor for questions now, also from the different partners which are in the room, working on cooperative or working with cooperatives, or just out of personal interest. Vivian and Zoran share their also personal experience. So you can do also the same, and especially from personal accounts. Okay, I see there's some exchange between Maria and Vivian. Hi, Maria, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Annalisa. Nice to see everyone.
Yeah, I don't know if, sorry for putting you on the spot, Maria, but I was following the chat. I don't know if you also want to share, like just shortly, the perspective on working on the care economy. Maybe you can give the audience a little perspective also on the role of cooperatives in this sector.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Yeah, I mean, coming from the UK and also looking at, not just in the UK, but globally, what the so-called social care crisis, I think cooperatives are very much well positioned to actually address the challenges of the care economy in the future. So I think basically care economy at the moment is very much dominated by it's actually become like a gig economy. A lot of care is provided, social care, adult social care provided by agencies. So in a kind of ad hoc, gigified sort of way. Therefore, we can all understand the impact and the consequences of that. So I think, what we're trying to do at the moment in Oxford is to put forward an alternative way of providing care and also embedding care within broader local community processes and community networks. And that actually links with the idea of instituting a new sort of care cooperative in the region, like a grassroots initiative supported by the council, but effectively energized and organized by the community itself. So yeah, I think that care and how care is broadly defined, not just in terms of adult social care, but care more generally, is something that is quite important, particularly as it links very much and very much sort of brings forward and provides a platform to exercise also and instigate quite a lot of the cooperative values, both as a type of service, but also as an organizing model for the future. So yeah, as I said, I put forward the link for the workshop and my email. Happy to have a chat with everyone who's interested in hearing more about the project or getting involved. So yeah, thanks very much for the floor, Anissa. Thanks everyone.
Thanks, Maria. Also glad to hear this perspective. Also, for context or out of interest, Zoran also mentioned the importance of advocacy and also best practices in education. We do have among the 7 cooperative principles, there's one which is exclusively linked to cooperative education, which is something that happens in terms of training of members and raise awareness on the different sides of managing a cooperative, setting up a cooperative, on the cooperative principles and values, which is also something that we would like to envision with Ivana in this context of this partnership. But we also, by cooperative education, we also aim at really academia, university education, working on the cooperative entrepreneurship model and the social economy model within universities. So either through ad hoc courses, but also Maria has seen more of them, but in this experience also from Cooperatives Europe, we see a lot of PhD students, but also students across university, who are more and more interested in the model and can help us address also the intergenerational turnover and who can be part and the role of youth in also setting and lead these businesses. So yeah, that's another perspective on that. Yeah, I'm curious to hear a bit about the audience or from ALDA as well. Any reaction. We're also here we gave the inputs, but it's mainly also from your perspective that we would like to hear. Thank you.
I just wanted a quick one comment and one personal question, actually. I agree with Zoran completely here, and I share with him the sentiment that the cooperatives in the past were a completely different thing when we were one country in one moment, and some of the memories are not good connecting cooperatives and collective methodology. But in my opinion, okay, this is completely personal. My parents actually remember fondly this part of their history when they were part of some cooperatives and helping the country rebuild maybe roads, maybe from an ecology point of view, they would clean areas that were affected by fire in the woods and things like that. So they remember fondly the togetherness and everything. But Zoran is right. I think it's a topic that it needs to be reintroduced in a more positive way. I have two questions now. One is, Zoran, maybe I missed this. How are you registered in Croatia? You said there is no legislation, there is a new law, so how is this? And the second thing, how it's possible to have a cooperative in childcare? How is this organized? This is a really new concept for me, really interesting. Thank you.
Okay, so we are registered as a cooperative, so there is an act on cooperatives in Croatia. There's no specifics like energy cooperative. That is something that we basically add on, and it is explained within our registration of how is called popis delatnosti, so types of activities that you do basically. And we are at the same time non-for-profit, which is basically in Croatia, when you say cooperatives, by default, you are for-profit organization. However, we registered additionally as a non-for-profit organization. So we are kind of hybrid in that way in Croatia. I know that in some countries, you are by default non-for-profit if you are cooperative. However, in Croatia, by default, you are for-profit, and then you need to register as a non-for-profit if that's your decision, right? And for the second questions, I guess that it's for Vivian because yeah, I don't know for the cooperatives in that sector. Thanks.
Right. And I think actually that was a really interesting point you covered at the end, Zoran, because when we use these phrases for profit and not for profit, you can really get into a complex discussion about what this really means, because, you know, for whose profit and what do we mean by profit? Because in a cooperative, traditionally profit is shared based on your participation in the enterprise. So if it's a consumer co-op, it's a percentage of what you spent is given back to you if the cooperative makes a profit. And so you it's in that sense, it's not for investor profit. It's actually, that's just a price correction mechanism because they made a surplus. And they didn't even use the word profit for a long time. The word surplus was when I first got involved, we thought the accounts would say surplus. So, which is a similar language to charities, for example. So I think it's that's an interesting debate we could have. But anyway, on the point about childcare, actually, there are childcare cooperatives in a number of countries. I know they exist in Scandinavia, and there have been some small ones in the UK as well. What the Midcounties Co-op has done as an existing large consumer co-op, it looked about 20 years ago at, we ran an exercise on, well, if we were starting today, if we were the Rochdale pioneers, maybe we wouldn't open food shops because, you know, getting hold of food is not the problem that it was then. And there are consumer protection laws to stop them from selling you something which is not what it says on the label, or giving you the wrong amount. So maybe the most pressing need would be in something else. And we explored a number of areas. One of the key things is that cooperatives have very strong trust with their members because the members own them. So why wouldn't they? You know, there's not someone else with an interest in extracting something from you. It's run by its members for their benefit. And when do you need, you know, when is trust the most important? I think many people would say when you take your child to be looked after by somebody else, you really have to trust them. And so we were also aware that childcare is very expensive in the UK. It's quite hard sometimes to find a childcare provider that's convenient for you, that's near your home or your work, depending on your needs. And so there's a shortage of provision, and it's not always been as good as you would want. So we said, okay, this is something where a cooperative can really make a powerful difference. So we, at that time, the previous Labour government had introduced some subsidies for childcare because they wanted to help particularly women re-enter the labour market. They were aware there was shortages of labour, and that some people were living on low incomes because they were not in the labour market, and one reason was a lack of childcare. So they were subsidising nurseries, childcare nurseries in more disadvantaged areas. At the same time, so we had adopted a dual strategy. We opened some nurseries in these disadvantaged areas with the benefit of the subsidy, and then we also opened some in more affluent areas, and we ran this dual track. And initially we opened 5. That was just before the merger that created Midcounties. So that was the Oxford, Swindon and Gloucester Co-op. After Midcounties was formed, we had a new chief executive who said, well, we don't want to just run 5 nurseries. We either do this at scale or we don't do it. So we embarked on a program of opening new nurseries, also acquiring existing nurseries, and we built it up. I think we have 46 or 47 nurseries now. So, and they are not, so Midcounties Co-op history is in a certain region where we had the traditional food co-ops, food shops. I mean, it's quite a large region around Oxford, the Birmingham area, Wolverhampton, if you know those areas, but it's in the middle of the country really. But the childcare nurseries we have opened across England. We haven't gone into Scotland, Wales or Northern Ireland because they have a different regulatory environment, and so we think we have enough opportunity in England. But the northernmost one is north of Newcastle, so not far from the Scottish border, and we have some on the south coast, near Brighton, and in Exeter, if you know the geography of the UK. So you really far apart, and we cover many parts of the country, and we are opening new ones quite regularly. Some of them are at workplaces, so we have arrangements with hospitals, for example, and with some employers. We have one in our own head office as well, which serves not only our colleagues, but the people who live on this business or who work on this business park or who are local to there. And it's this is a highly regulated sector in the UK. It's supervised by the education regulator, and a good proportion of most of our nurseries are either considered excellent or good. We want them all to be excellent, and we strive for that. But we consider it a success story. And one of the other things, just to finish, that I found most inspiring about this is that if you look at the pedagogical materials that are used, we actually put the co-op values into them. So we simplify the co-op values down to 4 things: democracy, openness, social responsibility, and equality. And the characters in the pedagogical materials reflect these different values in the way they think and talk, and I think it's such a powerful thing. And the first time, I have to say, the first time I saw it, I actually had tears in my eyes, because to me, transmitting the cooperative values to the next generation is so important. And I never even imagined that the people running this would think of doing that. So I was so pleased that they really did.
That's great. Thank you very much. Childcare is, I think, an overall global problem, even in our country. So I was really interested, as a mother myself, to see what is the opinion and how everything was organized. It's a really interesting idea. I really like it. And as you said, when you leave, we leave our values to the children, and they will, share with their children. It's a legacy that it has value.
I'll put a link in the chat as well.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm quite interested to read more about this. Maybe I will leave the floor for more questions from the audience. don't be shy. Yeah, I know that Balkan people are not shy. So if you have any questions, or even just to tell a story, maybe an experience that you had in the past, or how cooperatives are perceived in your country, we really want to hear more about you also and what is happening. As I said, Croatia is really close to our experience, so but I want to hear maybe more about Serbia, maybe Albania, what is the current situation, etc.
If there's no question, I just want to mention one thing I forgot to say when I was speaking, which is that the current UK government has adopted a policy, they put it in their manifesto, to work to double the size of the cooperative sector in the UK. So this is recognizing that, you know, what I was saying earlier, that cooperatives can be a powerful tool for economic growth and also for inclusion, social inclusion, and reducing inequality. And those are all things that I think the government is trying to do. So it's great that co-ops have been recognized in that way, and we're working with the government to put that plan into action.
Noah, please, welcome.
Hello, I'm Noah. I'm from Serbia, from Belgrade. I wanted to say a few words about the situation in Serbia. Here, as we heard before, there was a big attack on anything that was joint property as part of the anti-communism propaganda. And so with that, even though Serbia was one of the countries that founded the International Cooperative Alliance in the late 19th century, and cooperatives don't really have a direct connection to socialism, there was a big attack on cooperatives in general. So it has a bad sound to it, but at least in the agricultural sector, there's still quite a lot of them, a lot of new ones, out of necessity more than out of ideology. But in different other sectors, unfortunately, there is very little. A bit educational and also the savings and loan cooperatives were basically destroyed because in 2003 in the new loan, the banks then they made them actually equal to banks, and now the capital they need to have in order to form or even to continue working is so big that no savings and loan cooperative can exist. Basically, I think it's something like 10 million euros or something like that. So basically now, for quite a while, there's of new generation of people. I mean, unfortunately, young people who are now in their 20s usually don't even know what cooperatives are. But the let's say the left wing older ones now, let's say between 40 and 50, still remember and are positive to it. And what Zoran mentioned, the pioneer, electro pioneer, for instance, and a few others are a small group of people who are really trying to advance it in different sectors, whether housing sectors, care sector, and other sectors. Recently, we have tried, here is also Milan Đorđević and Tijana Cvetković. Together we have been trying for a while now to create an artist cooperative.
Also, there is Mario from Portugal together.
Yeah, Mario, I didn't notice, sorry. So, so recently we have got a grant from the European Union to facilitate that, and it's a European project. So there are partners from another, except Serbia, from another 7 countries. But we're just starting. We're in the last year, we have gone to different parts of Serbia and different parts of the Balkan to promote this idea, and we will see how it develops. But we're here to hear more and to maybe also join you in your project and Co-op Europe in general. Thank you.
Vivian, please.
Yeah, so just a quick reaction to that. I know that so what you call savings and loan co-ops, the credit unions as they are known here and in Ireland, faced a lot of problems in a number of European countries to be permitted. In most of, including in Western Europe. So in most of Western Europe, as I understand it, it's not really possible to establish one. Ireland has a really dense network of credit unions. Around about a third of the adult population are members of a credit union, which is a savings and loans co-op. And in the UK, it's a much smaller number, but it's growing. I believe in Poland, they successfully lobbied with the support of actually some North American credit unions, because the credit union movement is very strong in the US and Canada. They were active in the 1990s, supporting the development of credit unions in Poland, and together they got the Polish government to agree that credit unions could operate there. I'm not sure of the situation everywhere else, but it's a problem. So we also have another kind of mutual financial institution called building societies in the UK. They started as a mechanism to enable people to save to buy a house, or to actually to build houses, as the name suggests, in the 19th century. Now they function more like banks, but with a focus on loans for housing. And they also need this kind of 10 million pounds in the UK capital. So although in the 1980s we saw 1 or 2 new building societies formed, it never happens now, because ordinary people can't put this kind of money together. So I think this is something we should work together in Cooperatives Europe to lobby governments to allow smaller scale financial institutions that serve the needs of people in ways that the traditional banking sector doesn't, to get started and to grow, because I can't see the harm that comes from these organizations that this regulation is there to prevent. The reality is private sector banks control the narrative, and they have so much influence with regulators. They want to shut out anything that could challenge them, and that's a problem. We should fight that.
Absolutely. I don't know if the rest of the Shared Visions team wanted to share anything, or anyone else from the other people present in audience. Thank you also for these interventions. That's exactly one of the objectives that we wanted out of this discussion, is exactly to match the different European experiences, but also to scout in a way for potentially other initiatives where we can align, or we can also share best practices, and for those who work on cooperatives or with cooperatives can have a direct contact with our members and let's say share knowledge and learning. We're also towards the end, so I wanted to know if there were some final remarks. They will also to FYI, they will also help us to shape a little bit the discussion of the second webinar, because as as showed earlier, the next one is really supposed to be centered on this perception and perspective. So let's say we do our work on our side, but it will be even more beneficial if there are some needs or some obstacles and challenges that you yourself can highlight that can make the basis for the next episode and discussion to make it even more relevant. Anyone? Yes, we'll share the newsletter and initiatives with us. We will also share the recording and the presentation, and if speakers allow, also the contacts, so you can also continue the discussion outside this. Maybe one last point that I would like to mention out of what Noah and also Vivian were saying is, and Zoran as well, is really how much matters the political willingness and the enabling environment, which can encourage or discourage cooperatives from a political perspective, but also from a legal perspective. This is something that, as much as possible, we strive to work on as Cooperatives Europe and with our members, not only vis-a-vis the EU when it comes to advocacy, on a more broader level, but also with the single country, and something, for example, as an activity under COPS for Dev, which is more linked to research, but also to the legal aspect, is what we call legal framework analysis, which is an activity that we started implementing already 7 years ago as part of the previous partnership. And it's a legal analysis, so that is self-explanatory, of the legal environment, so the legislation in a specific country, based on a questionnaire and which has been and survey, which has also been drafted with our members and our research committee, to kind of identify to what extent that country is encouraging or stopping the setting up of cooperative, and if some sectors are more, let's say, open than others or easier than others. And this is an activity that we now want to expand in the large Europe, so neighborhood and Balkans, and we have been identifying countries. So if we already get some inputs from you on a country where you're working, we saw, for example, Croatia and Serbia today. As I'm only talking about active, let's say, of respondents, but there were also Bosnia and Macedonia and Albania. If you think it's also something that is relevant for you or out of perception, out of your personal work, we're happy to follow up separately and prioritize the countries where we could conduct this legal framework analysis. So maybe, I don't know if there's any formal final comments from our speakers, which I thank very much once again. It was very inspiring, and I've also personally learned a lot on a personal basis. Otherwise, I leave maybe Ivana to the final words.
Oh, thank you very much. This is a school example of on time, if I may say. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much for Vivian and for Zoran being here. It was quite informative, especially when we have two examples that are from the European Union and from a country who is part of the European Union, but we share similar paths and similar experience. So it was really nice to see how actually me even personally, I wasn't aware when that cooperatives can, cover this vast of possibilities and opportunities. This is, as we said at the beginning, this is a series of webinars, so stay tuned for the second one. Your mails during the registrations were noted. So yes, of course, we will send you the presentation from today. And if Vivian and Zoran say it's okay, we will share their contact too. Please register for the second webinar. You can see the information, I think, on both COPs and ALDA Balkans social media. And we will, of course, create maybe a small promotion for this one and share some screenshots a little bit in the week. And thank you very much for everybody. If you're too shy to comment now, you can actually write us a mail to maybe a point that you want to hear about in the next webinar, or a question that you want to be answered. We can prepare something for the next session. And of course, follow us on every social media, follow us on LinkedIn, on Facebook. I was reminded about LinkedIn by Vivian now, because LinkedIn is I'm getting a new wave, I think, especially for Noah asked on what mail. Yes, so ALDA Balkans mails is this one. So I will write it to you in the chat. It's our general mail. So every question you have, you can write it here, but also we will send you the presentation. You can respond to that mail again in the future. So it's ALDA Balkans at ALDA sorry, I'm writing at the same time that I'm speaking, intranet.org. So you can write it on this. Maybe Annalisa can write you the mail also, that you can ask her directly, contact them directly. Also, you can write us on the social media. You can reach us in every possible way. We are based in North Macedonia and Skopje. You can call us. We don't have roaming anymore, and the calls are cheaper. So we are here to help you and here to just see how we can cooperate in the future. So thank you very much for everybody. And if there is no comments, I can close this session, this first section, and then wait for you in the next one. Thank you very much. I will leave just 5 minutes for everybody to copy the mails, a few minutes, so we don't lose them, and see each other. What was the next date? Sorry, Annalisa, I forgot.
26th of May. So actually next Monday, that is.
Next Monday, yes.
Yeah, and
I hope that we made your Monday a little bit more nice, and with learning things and discovering new ideas, even maybe a beginning of a new cooperation. I really hope so. This is the case. So thank you very much again, all of you, and see you next Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Zoran, Vivian, and thank you for all participating.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye,
Okay.
everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Mario
bye.
had a question. Sorry, Mario, did you have a question?
It was a bye, I think.
No,
It was a bye. Sorry. I think I feel like a boomer in this case.
It's like the AI, the
Yeah, thank you very much.
automatic-
Sorry. My Zoom experience apparently is the same level as Annalisa's.
That's amazing. Thank you.
See you next Monday.
Bye bye, next one.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.